Hi friends, welcome back. So headline, Trump guilty, yes, you heard that right, guilty in hush money trial of all 34 counts. And yes, there were really that many accounts, 34, guilty on all of them. And guys, I don't talk about this stuff that much on the channel. I know it's been going on and I have been following it, and this is essentially what the verdict is. They still have to do the sentencing. I think theoretically he could go to jail/prison. I don't think he's going to go, but I don't know. I'm not the judge, but I'll say theoretically could go. Probably face some sort of fine, something like that. And then my understanding is that he can still run for president, although it does hurt your election chances. But in this crazy world that we live in, who knows? It's anyone's guess. I want to talk about this stuff because I think it sort of captures the world that we live in. And also, too, sort of when I talk about these things with you on the channel, I look for facts, I look for evidence, and also, too, again, it doesn't make any difference for me which party that it is in. If this is a Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever. If you go to trial and you're found guilty on all these things, I'll tell you about it. So, again, guilty on all 34 counts. There's actually been another interesting story recently as well. I'll read the headline here. It says, Musk counsels Trump on crypto inside billionaire sway. And there was an earlier report, too, that was saying, like, if Trump wins the presidency, he's looking to bring Elon Musk, that's the CEO over at Tesla, into, some sort of role. And interestingly enough, Musk is like, no, that's not happening. This is a quote from Musk. There have not been any discussions of a role for me in a potential Trump presidency. Why do I bring all this stuff up? Because you follow this stuff, right? And sometimes some people have a history/track record of saying things that aren't true, right? That's just how it is, or saying things that are misleading. So, do I know exactly whether or not Trump and Musk are talking? There were reports earlier that they did meet. Even Musk admitted that they had met before. So that part is part of the equation. What are they talking about? He doesn't necessarily tell you exactly, but the report is, and this was kind of an interesting one, that Trump was trying to get more people to vote for him. So they were looking at pushing crypto policies and being more friendly to crypto. Because the idea was, if we're more friendly to crypto, more young people will vote for me. That's the parts that I read. And they were thinking like, okay, if I want more young people to vote for me and more crypto, then I get Mr. Musk on our side. So, I would take whatever Musk says with a grain of salt. And I want to bring this stuff up, guys, too, because when I look at the stuff every single day, I honestly present to you everything I can find. And then I share my opinion with you, and I like to get yours as well. I understand people get really, really sensitive when you talk about these kind of topics, but kind of what I want you to be thinking about is how can you, be fair and control your emotions with any of these kind of things that you do in life, be it with your money, be it with your relationships, business, etc. And also, too, just digesting information. There is so much information out there in the world. There's also, too, which I like to do with you. I actually had a conversation with the member of the community a couple weeks ago, and it reminded me why it's important that I continue to do this channel all the time. They said, hey, I work 12 hours a day. I have a busy schedule, and I come home. I don't have time to look through all the news and everything, and I watch your channel because I trust the things that you go over, and I appreciate that, and I take this stuff seriously. So guys, that's why I always tell you, like, sometimes I'll say, hey, I read this, but I'm not sure what to make of it, and I'll say that. I won't just say, hey, I read this and he's definitely guilty, or I read this, he's definitely not guilty. I just don't talk in that way. But in the world that we live in, most people want to have their beliefs reinforced. And one of the reasons why I'm not like super popular, because I'm not out to reinforce your beliefs all the time. I'm just here to tell you the truth the best of my ability. This is something I want to bring up, and I don't know what to make of it exactly, but there was how can I say, an account on Twitter, and they actually put a link to an SEC filing, or not SEC. How can I say? It was like early charges against Musk and regarding to the Twitter deal, and there was like a lawsuit or something like that, and he had some excerpts of it. I read through some of it, but it hasn't been officially reported anywhere yet. But I just want to say that it looks like there's other things going on into the investigations of with Musk and Twitter, and I just wanted to mention to you guys that we may be hearing something in the future. So that's an example of, like, I don't know what to make of that exactly, but I've heard of it in the past, and I do follow these stories. And then when eventually it does come out, and then we'll talk about it even more. The regard to the Trump and the guilty verdict relates to kind of this conversation I've been having all along. Is I want to just make sure they have evidence, and when it goes to a court of law and you're getting all 34 counts. I mean, and they decided, the jury, that is pretty fast on the guilty verdict. Plus, even on Fox News, they were already like running headlines. What happens if Trump is convicted? Legal experts break it down. So they were already kind of in the mode of like, okay, he's probably going to be guilty. From the Fox News perspective, my guess they'll say, well, he's guilty. All these people, just are out to get Trump. Maybe he's guilty, but it's just not a big deal. That's probably the game plan that they're going to run. Trump does have a right to appeal, as you certainly can. But the problem is that there's just a massive paper trail. And why would you care about this stuff is because essentially they're trying to bury stories during a presidential run, right? And so you start, buying off people and making deals, etc. And they have like all of these documents, invoices, vouchers, checks. For those people who don't believe any of this stuff, I just show you this is the kind of example, right? You have these handwritten notes, and you have these vouchers, checks, invoices. You have conversations. There's a whole bunch of stuff. I'm just showing you guys some very quickly because again, it's not the focus of my channel, but I think it's important to mention that when I go through this stuff, I just try to show you guys everything. For example, I don't. It doesn't matter on the party. I mentioned this Bob Menendez before. This is a Democrat. He's involved with some sort of bribery situation that hasn't yet resolved. But I don't ever defend this guy. And the one thing that I want to mention with this stuff, and I mentioned it before several times, but I just want to make it clear. So Musk is about my age. We went to the same school. Trump also went to our school, the University of Pennsylvania. And then I think 3 of Trump kids went to my school. Vanka was there when I was there. I bring this stuff up because, guys, if you have any exposure to rich people like this, it won't shock you, this kind of stuff, that they have fixers and they do things, maybe aren't so ethical, and then they pay people off the same way that like Tesla and Musk companies, they always have settlements. There's always some sort of complaint at their company, and they end up settling, and that's a real thing. Also too, which has been going on, and people like to hear about this stuff. I make these videos on the channel and people like to hear this stuff, but what frustrates me is like when people say, hey, I want to hear bad news on Tesla, but I don't want to hear bad news on Menendez, or I don't want to hear bad news on Biden, or I want to hear bad news on Trump or whatever. And for me, guys, it's just all the same. I think it's a disservice if I only give you bad news for one company and never bad news for another company. If there's a big story, I will talk about it. Or if it's a story that's underreported, which is the Tesla filing stuff I'll talk about, which I'm doing right now, and I try to cover. Because there's so much stuff out here. These are actually SEC filings. I'm just pointing this out, guys. I can't even show you all of them. It's like every day there's a new disclosure that they have to make to the SEC where Musk is, and his pumpers on social media are pumping up crap about Tesla. It's so ludicrous. So here's another one. I'm just showing you quickly to show you that I do see it, and it's just too much to cover. What was crazy about this Sawyer guy, and he's mentioned here, is that he'll tweet out like Tesla stuff all the time, but he won't tweet out that he's in the SEC disclosures. And I saw this story today too, which again captures why I think it's important for us to work together as a community to decipher all this crazy stuff out there in the world, because there's so much misinformation, disinformation, and a lot of it can be AI generated. This is an example of what I think and why I think it's important to look at everything, and again have a solid community to go through stuff. Read the headline and I'll show you what I mean. It says here, networks linked to Russia and China use OpenAI tools to spread disinformation, right? So if you just read the headline, you think, oh yes, Russia and China, okay, they're spreading disinformation, etc. But if you actually dig deeper, it's even worse than that. And it also shows you too why you need to read everything. So here it says OpenAI has revealed operations linked to Russia, China, Iran, and Israel have been using artificial intelligence tools to create and spread disinformation as technology becomes a powerful weapon in information warfare in the election every year. And if you understand why I'm pointing this out, is because yes, the headline says or mentions Russia and China, but literally in the first sentence of the article, it also mentions Iran and Israel. And again, I just want to show you guys everything. That's why we do this. Moreover, if you want to talk about how the world really works, which we talk about on this channel, and what does this have to do with investing, is because you want to understand sort of like the macro environment that we're in, right? So right now, we just watched my video yesterday. I was talking about how China was selling off bonds into U.S. treasuries. And this is something that's been going on with them, is they're having that whole real estate crisis, right? The Evergrande situation. And so, they're dumping U.S. bonds, and they're also too, because they're trying to like save their own system. Also too, they're trying to find a fall guy for the Evergrande thing, right? And so I guess they're looking at getting a bunch of money from PwC. So that's what Price Waterhouse, and essentially blaming the accountant people. Oh, there's nothing wrong with our Chinese government or something like that. We're just going to blame the accountants. It's all their fault, right? That kind of stuff. So this is something that is a common thing that you'll see in this stuff, is that you always pick some sort of fall person. It's never your fault, right? The issue though is the situation in China is systemic. So many politicians are involved with this thing. You can't get a major business deal, or especially like say real estate development, where you're like developing properties with massive amounts of money, talking about billions of dollars here, without government approval or officials getting kickbacks essentially, right? So there's a lot of people involved with this stuff, and it takes them a while to clean up, because they're essentially you're looking for your golden parachute out of it. But I think the situation is actually quite serious. That's why I bring it up all the time. Moreover, if you're looking at the markets, the last couple of days, you saw that Salesforce had a bad projection. So forecast going forward. So like they had a 20% crash essentially, which is really good nuts. I think I read it was like the biggest drop since like 2004 or something like that. So in 20 years? And the thing we've been watching is what is the Fed going to do? Because essentially things are slowing down, right? And so if you start to see this kind of stuff, the Fed might, if they're watching the markets, which I'm sure they are, the rumor right now is they're going to do one cut. My guess is they're probably not going to do any. That's just my guess. But who knows? I can't predict exactly what they're going to do. But I can tell you, and I can call it BS when I see it. I remember it was like, was it a year ago already or something like that, where you hear these crazy people saying that they're going to do 6 cuts, that kind of stuff. It's like nuts. I never said that kind of stuff. And essentially they're tracking inflation, also tracking, the health of our economy. I guess they're going to get the PCE read on Friday, and it'll probably be the same as some of the CPIs. So I don't expect it to be dropping to their 2% anytime soon. And even if it does, they'll want several months in a row to show that we're there. I want to show you another example of why I read everything, and sort of like the perspective you want to take when you look at investments. Or anything in life, because the opposite is, which the most popular choice that most people do, is they just want to again have their views reinforced, and they don't read everything, or they go to sources that purposely mislead you. So let me give you an example. This is one of the Tesla pumpers, right? Sawyer, he's always pumping Tesla crap. And this is what he tweets out. And I'm showing you guys this is a really good example. A report: pedestrian deaths reached their highest level in 40 years. There was a 75% increase between 2010 and 2022 to 20 deaths per day in the USA. Okay, and why would he do this? Why would a Tesla pumper do this kind of stuff? Well, he's essentially part of promoting FSD. Then all of his followers will be like, oh yeah, we need to get FSD, save the pedestrians, FSD. And I'm not against saving pedestrians, right? And then if I come out and say, I don't think FSD is going to work, they're like, oh Chris, you just hate pedestrians. You want to kill more pedestrians? No, I don't. I actually want to save pedestrians, but I also want to tell the truth, right? And so if you guys understand this game, right? Okay, so I can agree that there are more pedestrian deaths, and it's a problem. I can completely agree with that. But whether or not FSD is a problem, I will disagree, and I'll show you why, because I actually read everything, and it's sort of why I present to you. So this is the thing that he tweeted out, the Sawyer guy. It was from Autoblog. It says pedestrian deaths reached their highest level in 40 years. Okay, and then when you actually dig at the report, because this was an article based on a report, Dangerous by Design 2024. And basically what they told you, and it's funny because the Musk followers and the Sawyer followers won't dig this deep, nor will they even care. Why? Because this issue actually affects Black and Native Americans. It does. It affects older adults, people in low-income communities. The basic gist of it is that they're arguing that, and it's an easy argument to make because it's just factual, unfortunately. Nations, the nation streets, so talking about the way our roads are designed in USA, are dangerous by design. And the quote says here, it says, designed primarily to move cars quickly, right, at the expense of keeping everyone safe. Unfortunately, this crisis will continue to get worse until the power finally makes safety for everyone who uses our roads a top priority. And moreover, which is something they don't want to talk about, again, the pumpers, the Tesla pumpers, because remember, they just want you to buy more cars than FSD. It's a problem with the way everything's designed. It's not pedestrian friendly. That's the basic gist of it, right? And I've told you guys about this stuff before. If Musk and those people were really sincere about making radical shifts to the world, they would be like, oh yes, just buy more cars and get cars that driven by robots. And I told you guys the real radical shift would be design our cities to be more friendly for bicycles, more friendly for pedestrians, right? It's not only like prevents pedestrian deaths, it just helps healthier living, right? If you get out, walk more, bike more, these kind of things. Moreover, if we figure out ways to design our communities to where people don't have to go so far to go to places of entertainment, get their food, go to work, this kind of stuff. It's just, I'm not talking crazy stuff. And I always mention all the time, if you want to see our lifestyle here in Busan, you can check out our vlog channel. I just show you guys like where we eat, how we live, etc. It's a different life. And I mentioned before, I mentioned the Netherlands, where they have a really good, pedestrian friendly world. Because also too, if you're really concerned about the environment, you wouldn't be like, hey, buy more cars. No, you'd be like, hey, how can we get people to be more efficient, right? Use mass transit, right? Maybe not drive at all. What's better than, an efficient car? No car, right? That essentially is healthier for our air and for our water, these kind of things. So I hope you guys understand the point of why I say, hey, look at everything. It's not like robots driving cars is a solution. It's not really that much of a revolution. And someone wrote in the comment recently like, is that Musk's big revolution is that we're gonna reduce the cost of taxis by 20%? Is that going to go down in the history of the world as being a great revolution? Oh, reduce the cost of taxis by 20%. I'm saying even if you can pull it off, but I think the real revolution would be, can we redesign our cities to be safe places and essentially again healthier and better for walking, for bicyclists, right? Say walking your dog, which is a real thing, right? If you guys have pets, you want to walk your dog in a safe environment where there's a big enough sidewalk where you can do that, where you're not worried about a car hitting you. Also too, talking about, and I've read the reports about this pedestrian stuff before, we just have more people driving bigger vehicles as well, right? So you get these, and electric cars will be guilty of that also. Those things are heavy, right? So you have heavier vehicles, bigger vehicles, trucks on the road, like a Cybertruck, right? That's definitely not pedestrian friendly, these kind of things. So it's kind of ludicrous. And I understand this if you love your Musks and love your Tesla, that kind of stuff. There's all these things I just told you. Oh, Chris, you're just a liar. You just make stuff up. And it's like it's hard to have those conversations with people who don't actually want to read everything or consider different ways of thinking other than FSD is going to save the world. And so I hope you guys understand why I get frustrated with it, because I see so much disinformation out there and it coming from so many places. And so again, I always thank you every day for coming back to the channel and being willing and wanting to learn new stuff every day, and also to look at everything and have reasonable conversations about this stuff. So that's the news for the day. I'd like to hear your thoughts on these things. I appreciate everyone's time, and I'll catch you in the next video.